Hi, this is Benjamin Day with Pikes Peak Urban Living, Selly Group Real Estate, presenting the market peak for August 2013. This is real estate data through the end of July, and market data in other categories through June, July, and into early August. We're attempting to have complete accuracy here in our late summer edition. It's the Case-Shiller Index right now. The Case-Shiller Index is showing a 12 to 13% gain in their 10 to 20 city composites. But we're not huge fans of the Case-Shiller Index, and this is a good time to point out why exactly. The Case-Shiller Index selects 10 to 20 markets, and they've never really said why they've chosen those markets. They're not representative of national demographics. They're not representative of population centers. They're not representative of unique real estate activity. They're a smattering where you squish Houston and Detroit and San Diego and Atlanta and Denver and Tampa and DC and Boston into one index and say this is what's going on. And it's also measuring sales of properties that are repeat sales. A year ago it was sold and then it sold again. So it's a very small sampling of data. When you get down to what's going on in our market, it's actually a broader spectrum of data that we're looking at to tell you what's going on. And the big macro trend that we've seen this year is appreciation at 7.3%. And this value is consistent with several other measuring sticks. So if you're hearing out there the real estate's up 12 to 13% and you read Case-Shiller, who calls himself the most significant real estate market report that's out there, I guess that's probably right because it's geared towards investors. And as far as Case-Shiller and Standard & Poor's and McGraw-Hill are concerned, they're the real estate market and they're the ones that they care about. You, the consumer who's reading this, we like you. We're your advocates. Please look at us. Okay, I'll stop begging. But what we're talking about is 7.3% appreciation in our market. It's 7% in the FHFA data. FHFA is the conservator of Fannie and Freddie, and that's where 7 out of 10 mortgages go through. And when you're talking about 7 out of 10 mortgages going through Fannie and Freddie, we're not just talking purchase data, we're talking refinance data. So there's lots of appraisals and there's lots of data floating through Fannie and Freddie, and they're saying that we're up about 7% as a country, 7% in Colorado and in our local marketplace, and our MLS is saying 7.3%. Okay, just for fun. Zillow says that Colorado Springs is up 6%. It says that Monument's up 6.8%. I think they're a little off on Fountain saying that they're up 4%, but we're seeing growth this year in price. Single-family units sold 1,202. Why is that a number of significance? It's the first time in 7 years we cracked 1,200 units. It's only the 11th time in history we've cracked 1,200 units. We've sold 6,538 single-family dwellings in the Pikes Peak region this year. When you consider that in a year like 2010, we had 8,400 single-family sales for the entire year, and in 7 months we're within 1,900 units of that, or 2 months, it's a pretty good year. Months of inventory, it's puny, 3.5 months. However, this is a number that we expect to swell, and I would be willing to wager in the next 90 days that we'll see 5 months of inventory. More on that later. Monthly average sales price last month was just under $257,000. We have not seen numbers like that since the summer of 2006 and 2007. Here's another reason why we think that months of inventory is going to swell. 1,800 pending and under contract sales is something to celebrate. However, it's diminishing, and it's down by about 300 units from its peak back in May. The momentum for sales activity has been slowed both by the selection of properties that are on the marketplace and the 1% increase in interest rates. That has kept buyers off the market and has allowed buyers to be a bit choosier. The median sales price, one time, July 2007, we saw a number that was higher than where it is right now, and that was merely $1,250. Why this is important is a broad spectrum of greater affordability. Back in 2007, interest rates were at 6 to 6.5%. Now they're at 4 to 4.5%. That means that the average buyer has 22% more buying power. That means more people can buy houses. The median buyer has more power than they've ever had in the marketplace. Correction on that is that the rates have since climbed in the last 7 weeks. So this is more measuring stick of activity that was transacted in May and June of this year when people were securing lower interest rates. Again, that velocity of transactions seems to have slowed. Here's another reason why that velocity of transactions has slowed, because people can be a bit choosier. We have 16% more listings on the market this year than we had come on at this time through 2012. We're at 10,600 new single-family listings for the year. And we're at 4,137 single-family listings as of August 1st. Yesterday when I looked at the numbers, I saw 4,182. So we've still gained positive listings into the month of August. Usually by now we've hit our peak and we're in our downward trend, heading into a inventory that is starting to contract because people just aren't likely to put their houses on the market. The conventional wisdom among sellers is that it's now easy to sell your house. You can get the best price ever for your house, and buyers are stupid and will buy anything. Don't believe the conventional wisdom. Interest rates are high compared to where they have been. Historically, they are low. 2009, 2010, you'd love that 4.4% interest rate. We got used to, in the last 30 months, rates that were at 4.2 and below. They're elevated right now. This is how elevated they are. Just on May 3rd, they were at 3.35%. 3.35% was in Never Never Land. That's the place that we just had never seen rates. Within 7 weeks, it had bounced up to over 4.4%. And you can see in the last 7 weeks reporting, interest rates have been consistently above 4.25%. Now, we think that rates will dribble back down to 4.0, 4.1 as the year progresses because they just usually do. We're also seeing, though, some of the big major heavyweights in the marketplace that do a lot of refinancing have basically decided to close up shop on the refinance vehicle. Wells Fargo and Chase just in the last 30 days have laid off close to 250 people from mortgage processing up in the Denver marketplace because they don't anticipate much more happening in interest rate activity coming low. In other words, the great refi party is over. The pending and under contracts will help track what's actually going on here, especially when you associate it to the interest rates. And if you look at what the average interest rate was for July 2009 through 2013, that's in gray. And you can see the relative health of the market and as how transactions were transacting each of those months. We had more pendings in 2013 than we had in 2012, but it was only a 4% gain, and interest rates were 8% higher as a factor of what the monthly payment was. And that's starting to drag things down. We anticipate in August that we'll probably have as many or fewer pendings and under contracts as we had 1 year previous. But we're still seeing good health in the marketplace as far as the balance of supply and demand. 2007, we had a similar rate of transactions. We're actually about 4% ahead of the 2007 sales year pace this calendar year, and we're at about 60% of the inventory that we had then. So what we're seeing right now is a marketplace that is still quite healthy. We've had 4.8 months of inventory for 17 consecutive months. And even then, it was close to 4.8 or 5 months worth of inventory for the previous 6 months prior. So for 2 years, we've been in a market that has been poised and coiled for appreciation. And the months of inventory right now is at 3.5. If you look at that historically, it was 3.3 in 2005 and higher than that in 02, 03, and 04. This is a strong marketplace as my air conditioner comes roaring to life above me. Thank you. Don't you know I'm recording HVAC? The price trends. What I really want you to look at here is on the far right side and the green line. Our red line's median price, our orange line is the average sold price, and you can see healthy gains happening for the last 18 months, basically tracking with our 4.8 months of inventory or less. And for that year and a half, we've seen healthy gains there. But if we look far to the right, what you can see is that average new listing price. And if you're a seller, I want to caution you, don't be punch drunk on your power, because you don't have as much power as you had 90 days ago. You don't have that much uniqueness to yourself in the marketplace. We're now at 4,100 listings on the market. We're not at 3,500. We have a lower rate of transaction happening. We have a higher rate of inventory that you must compete with. And yet sellers have been climbing away in their price faster than prices have climbed from buyers. Sellers, understand this. You set expectations. Buyers determine market value. Appraisers substantiate buyer behavior. The behavior you're showing sellers right now is, guess what? You're overpriced. Buyers are still willing to spend and they're willing to come up in price, but probably not as high as you actually are. Permitting. Builders, they're healthy. The average permit value right now is at $414,000, and permit numbers for the year are up 42% over 2012. You ask any of the builders and they have kind of a stupid grin on their face, just as how well they're doing. And finally, I want to go through our market numbers for the 15 MLS areas that we look at with the greatest frequency of transaction for Selly Group Real Estate. And I really want to highlight the top line right there, which is Black Forest. Last month when we were looking at this data, we were predicting that Black Forest was going to be heavily impacted by the Black Forest fire. And the reason behind that was that it was at 10 months worth of inventory. For comparison's sake, when the Waldo Canyon fire hit the Northwest inventory, we were at very low inventory at just around 4 months of inventory when that fire struck. And so correspondingly, the houses that were available were gobbled up. A lot of people wanted to stay local and stay in there. But when we saw 10 months worth of inventory in Black Forest, we were projecting, uh-oh, there's trouble ahead. Well, part of the reason why there was 10 months worth of inventory was probably because the Black Forest fire prevented so many transactions from closing in the month of June. There were only 10 closings that happened in the Black Forest MLS area in all of the month of June 2013, and just last month in July we had 22. And so months of inventory has receded back to 6.3 months, which is pretty good for Black Forest. Well, that's the longest time on market of any of the MLS areas. There's only 2 other MLS areas that are in excess of 5 months worth of inventory. And most of what you're seeing here in the urban areas of Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region are 2 to 3 month factors. So despite what I'm warning here on sellers being overpriced, and I think that they are, there is still not that much to choose from. The expansion of the inventory has occurred. But what we're seeing right now is we're seeing the highest rate of sales. I don't expect that we will see 1,200 units close in August of 2013. I would expect that number to still be healthy at around 1,100 units, but that means that we're going to be closer to 4 months worth of inventory with the market volume of listings that are sitting out there. Looking across these numbers, there is tight inventory in all of the areas, yet the rate of sale is slowing down. So buyers, if you're in a month-to-month, buyers, if you don't have to make a decision right now, we're telling you to be cautious. We're telling you to be prudent. We're telling you to take your time. Let the market come to you if you have that opportunity. Sellers, think about what we're cautioning buyers to be right now. Prudent and cautious. You should be cautious as well. Do not be overzealous with your pricing structure. Just because someone else got a fantastic contract on their house in June or July does not mean that you can replicate that feat in late August or September. The school buses are delivering children to their schools in all districts next week. Thanks for tuning in.